Hello everybody, it's Arn here once more again, and today for all of you another figure review, as we're finally getting around doing one of my another Max Factory Figma figures from Good Smile Company. This right here is Nero Claudius from Fate Extra, or Fate Extella, technically speaking. For this one, it's actually Fate Extella, as on the logo for the box has Fate Extella, as it also does have the other two logos, besides the 10th anniversary for Figma right there. It also has the Marvelous logo, which I think is either the developer or publisher of the Fate Extella games. This right here is actually one of my earlier Figma figures that I actually had in my collection, and as one of my favorite characters of all time, as Nero was one of the characters who got me into Fate, and is one of my favorite characters. And somewhere around here, I'm probably gonna do a little show clip of my current level of my Nero Claudius and FGO at level 100. I'm trying to get her to 120, but that's a slow and arduous process at the moment. For those who know about trying to get their favorite characters to level 120, they know the pain of trying to level them up. It's taken a while. But without further ado, folks, let's dive right in with everything with my Nero Claudius comes with. And we are back, folks. This is everything that Nero Claudius comes with. Starting off with everything, before we go through with all the accessories, let's take a little bit deep look with Nero herself. Looking pretty fine. As you can see right here, also technically swapped out Nero's arms. As that's another thing we'll see right here. When it comes to Nero, she actually has two arms. I guess she plug in her regular arm, and the one with her guard arm, basically her van brace. Shield, which we'll see a little bit once we go through like the whole design wise. But looking for Nero by herself, looking pretty nice. As one of my favorite characters, and the character that actually introduced me to Fate and got me into the franchise. I mean, technically speaking, it would be Saber too, because I did technically start watching Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, but as back then I really wasn't too much into anime as back then. At least when it comes to Series 1, especially when it comes to like the different franchises and whatnot, I really didn't understand too much. Like I saw Fate Zero and then Fate Stay Night, and I was like, hey, cool, not bad. But I really wasn't into it. It wasn't until I bought Fate Extra, not Fate Extra, Fate Extella, the first game, and just ran through it. And it's like, oh man, I like this. I like the characters, and I fell in love with them. And Nero being the first character you choose, Saber. Was called the character I fell in love with, and the fact that she was also red as well kind of helped a little bit to it. I loved her attitude, I love her personality. The humanness for her, pretty good. And we did technically already do a review of the statue of the Sega, prize Sega statue figure for Nero as well, all the way back during December. That was a whole review there. Pretty good. Overall, Nero looks pretty nice. All the detail work for her is pretty good. See all this pretty nice. Her dress is pretty good. You can see almost the clear through it as well. All the detail work for her as well, for the backside as well. Her hair, her bow tie and all that, pretty nice. Overall, Nero looking pretty nice. And actually, one of my first Figma figures. I actually really do enjoy this. Because what's it called? It's when it came to Fate Extella, basically my favorite characters end up becoming Nero and Tamamo. As we do also have Tamamo too, which we'll later when we do the size comparison, we'll probably put them next to each other. But when it comes to also the accessories, like I mentioned before, Nero actually, not a lot of the Figmas do this, but some of them do. They actually have different arm pieces that you can swap out. As you can see right here, you can just pop them off in and out, which I'll show you right now. Now, I will say be careful when you're popping these out, because these are still Figma. They're not too good on their connection point, so popping them out is going to be slowly, so you don't accidentally gotta slide them out. So what's cold? So I don't like doing this a lot to my Figmas, because what's cold, sometimes it will pull stress. So it's like sometimes you just gotta twist them out in and out, because not that's breaking the piece. And let me tell you, trying to find pieces for these, especially for Figma joints, is like a whole thing I don't want to do at all. I'm already making a stressor point on my Nero right there. Now, technically speaking, you could remove the ball joints on there, no problem at all. But I can see right there, I'm swinging it out. So just there we go. So just right there on the ball joint right there. That right there, you can see right there, it just slides in. Just gonna remove the box here, because it's kind of not allowing you guys to see directly. There, see, there's pop in where you pop in the peg right there and just put them in, and you just swap the arms with the full armor one. With this right here is her van brace. This is actually where you attach the shield, which we'll see the shield in a second. Actually, let's see the shield right now. So this is right here, a shield that you see her use when she's defending yeah, basically just attaches onto this right here because it's just got like a whole just peg point right there, just attach onto it right there. And boom, there's their shields. And because it's kind of like on basically just only rotation, so basically spin this. There's just plugged in there, so you can spin this so you can have it depending on where you want it, like pose wise. So it's actually pretty not bad. I actually do like this a lot. Besides the fact that she has 2 arms, I'll just keep Nero in her regular form right now. Basically just the one joint right now. Just keep that for right now. When I do like the whole different poses, we'll probably do that later. Probably do like later with poses and whatnot. So let's just put her arm back. Just doesn't wanna break this right now. There we go. And once you hear the pop, you should be good to go. And it should be fine. The only reason why I say sometimes finicky is that sometimes with Figmas, sometimes they're finicky with their bolt joints. And it's a good thing this one tank has an extra one, so in case it breaks, I could always like pull it out and whatnot. But it is a thing you got to be careful with Figmas. If you do collect and whatnot, if you've been collecting for all, you do understand. And then with the fact that she also comes with Figmas, a bunch of hand pieces right here for different possibilities right there. So that's the ones that she already has on her hands. You also get a bunch of extra ones for like different poses. You also have the different faces here too. You have her action face and her Umu face right there. Pretty nice. Then, sorry about that. Trying to keep her up on this current dex. It's a little bit finicky, so come on, Hero. There we go. Just say it like that. Then we have golden arm braces, which connect towards the arm. These right here actually become like her final extensions. If you've played Fate Grand Order, have Nero, you understand what I'm talking about, the final extensions. These are the extra gold armor that go into her left arm. Though in Fate Grand Order, all the gold armor is actually on the right arm instead of the left arm. Where in Fate Extella, it's all on the left arm. It's kind of weird how they have it, but it's different Neros for different games. So technically speaking, that's for that. And then we have her favorite sword. One of my favorites. Pretty nice. And with most Figmas, when it comes to blades, this actually does come separated at the hilt right there. So we can just separate the blade and just put them back right on there. Just so you can reconnect it. This is the reason why they kind of do this, just so when you slide it in, you can slide it into the hand without having like to put it in there. Because I know for sometimes with like statue figures, when they have swords on like that, they kind of don't have to do that. So it's a struggle trying to just put it in there. So it's actually a pretty nice way to install your weaponry without having like to break them and all that. That's a thing that does happen a lot of times. I've had to happen a few times where the hand for some of my figures or statues, because of the way they're kind of designed, they don't have the blades to like just pop up in there. Like, let me show you. Basically, just pop the hand. Sorry, Nero. I don't mean that. What's it called? Just slide the blade right there. Just slide it in right there. No problem at all. And just slide the top side right there. And boom. Now it's right there installed. Pretty easy. No struggle at all. Kind of wish a lot of figures and other stuff kind of do this. Now, granted, it does kind of make it a little bit weak because what's called, it will spin around. So you got to make sure you tighten it pretty good so it doesn't like fall out and whatnot. But usually, most of the time, it's usually fine. There's like no problems at all. The reason why I kind of say I kind of prefer that versus other stuff too, because sometimes over time, when you're trying to like do poses or trying to like keep figures and whatnot in like different poses or just change them out every once in a while, sometimes the ones that don't kind of do this, they kind of damage the hands, and the hands become damaged over time. If I had figures where the index of their palms are like just super damaged, or it's like so it's starting to rip apart because the opening and closing of the hands a lot. And then the last but not least, for the Figmas, we also have because of the hands too, because of the pommels, you also do get an extra hand joint right there that's in the baggie right now because I don't want to lose it because the thing's actually pretty small. And sometimes I've lost them. And let me tell you, trying to buy a bunch of these little the hand joints things is annoying. Let me just pop this one out so you can guys see it a little bit better. Because I don't know if you've had this happen. Well, it's the other thing too that I do have a bunch of Figma, so losing one of these isn't too bad. But what's called? It's these little ball joints right here. Yeah, you can see right there. It's like that little ball joint right there in case the hand, which they only give you one, which annoys me. But with me having like a bunch of Figmas, it really doesn't matter because I have a bunch of them. So in case my other Figmas, I break a piece of this, I just swap them out. Just no problem at all. But trying to buy extra of these, I think it's like 10, 20 bucks just like for a pack of 4 or 5 from Good Smile Company, I think. Usually I just buy third-party ones because it's just it's the joints. They're not too bad. And well, with the fact that I do have a lot of Figma, so I already have like an extra amount of these. And then we have the manual right here, which really isn't too much. It's basically just explaining to you what's it called, how to install and pose your Nero. All the accessories right here, you can see right there. You have the ball joints, we have the stands right there, we have the different hands. Shows you how the armor is supposed to go on the left side instead of the right side. For those who probably play FGO, it's like, wow, that's weird. Why is it on the left side and not the right side? And then last but not least, the stand that goes attached onto this. Which let me tell you, I have a bunch of these stands. So I was lucky I was able to find this one right here. But now with that out of the way, let's go right in with the articulation of the figure. And we are back, and now it's time to do the articulation for Nero Claudius herself. And like I usually do with all my figures, starting off with the head. And Figmas kind of do have like kind of this double ball joint headed on the heads because, well, to replace like the whole head thing right there, which let me show you for these, for those who haven't done Figmas. Usually to replace the head, you just check out the faceplate, which is the hair most of the time. And then you just just plug the head off and boom. That's the inside of the head right there. And you can see right here, they're on kind of like a double ball joint. This is for most Figmas. Most of them. The only ones I think that probably don't have this are the ones that technically have helmets. So with those helmet ones, you just have to like remove the entirety of the ball joint because they're kind of stuck on that, and just put in another one. So usually the only ones actually that I have in my collection that actually do have that kind of like thing is either my Goblin Slayer, Mordred in their full armor mode, and yeah, I'm thinking that's pretty much it. But overall, her head can go 360, no problem at all. And go up and down. Actually right there, up and down, left and right, no problem at all. And overall, pretty good articulation when it comes to the head. Shoulder right there has posability as it does have a ball joint right there on the arms. So it's able to go all the way up, all the way down, spin around. Oof, haven't really done like something with Nero's arms in a while. Like legit, this is like one of the things like I really don't do postability when it comes to my Figmas in a long time. So usually I forget how these armaments are supposed to be done. Then because it's technically on just single joint, not double joint. So as far as the hands able to go, but they would have bend pretty nice all the way there, so not bad at all. Same thing for the other arms here, it could bend pretty nice. The ends here, because they're on that like the single ball joint too, can just spin around and go a little bit up and down, depending on where the angle for the hand piece is at, because I do not know where this one's at, because that hand's in there and I usually have never taken it out. And that's pretty much it. Now when it comes to ab joint or ball joints, it has torso joint, which is something a lot of Figmas you do see here. A lot of the newer ones kind of do have ab joints, kind of. Though the only one that kind of has like a fully full, like whole ab joint is the 2.0 Medusa, which I technically do have, if I remember correctly. Like here, this is my 2.0 Medusa. This is a modification they end up doing for her, so it should be way more posable. They end up swapping out and modifying the ab joints here, so it's, she says she has double joints between the torso and the arms, so basically better movement on the lower waist, so it should say it would do much more better. That's something new for most Figmas. Granted, not a lot of them do have them. Medusa is technically more special case because what's called the because in one of the show in the game, she's very posable and doing a lot of fight scenes and whatnot. I will say when it comes to like leg joints and whatnot, Nero's a little bit kind of like stagnant because of the skirt and all that, kind of like blocking it. So she's able to move the legs like up and down, but because the cloth, the skirt kind of blocks it, so it's not able to do a lot. She's able to pull her legs up and down, no problem at all. She's able to bend, but because of the armor and whatnot, she's not able to bend all the way as we want to. Like this is as much as I'm able to get to it without the whole thing, like the skirt kind of blocking it. It's like one of the kind of the negatives I'll give with Nero because of her skirt kind of like blocking it. Like a lot of the later Figmas, like a lot of them, like kind of like with Saber or Lartoria, kind of fixes this a little bit so it doesn't get in the way, which I kind of wish they kind of did for Nero. Her legs are also ball joint too, so they can spin around, no problem at all. They can go up and down, so that's no problem at all. Oh, actually, let me show you, because I do technically have two other Neros as well, so I can show you the difference when it comes to like the leg posability. So I have Racer Nero here from whatever racing event thing they did, I forget. And then we have Nero Bride. And what I'm talking about was like the leg articulation when it comes to like Nero with Figmas usually. And that knee armor came off, but don't worry about that. Usually comes off. That's another thing when it comes to. I'll fix that later. Don't worry about that. What's it called? Usually when it comes to posability, they can usually most times do the bowl joints or splits. Most of the time, not a lot of times. Some of them can, some of them can't. Just really depends on like how the leg joints are kind of like put on here. Like Racer Nero can, if I bend it almost all the way, but not all the way. It really just depends on the Figmas. There's some that actually can't do the what's called the split. Others can't. Just really just depends on the joints. Bride, technically can, because the way her waist is kind of designed. The only difference is, once again, this time it's Bride skirt that's kind of blocking this around. Technically speaking, Bride skirts are technically on bowl joints too, but what's it called? Technically speaking, she can almost do what's called splits. Just what's called. It's got to get rid of the skirts for it. But we'll probably do that when we do Bride's review one day. But overall, articulation is still pretty nice. The only thing that's kind of like blocking her from having like full articulation is basically her skirt kind of blocking her legs from being as much movable as possible. But she's still able to bend under the skirt, just what's called. Trying to do like any splits or anything else kind of does block it, and just got to be careful not to like break the joints, because sometimes Figmas are a little bit more finicky and they do kind of break a little bit. So there is that. But overall, Nero has decent articulation. Like basically top of the torso, good articulation. Top torso, half side torso can like spin around and all that. Arms are still pretty good. Overall, pretty great. Below, the articulation is still good, just like the skirt, just blocking that. So overall, articulation is still pretty good. Now let's go with size comparisons with other figures that I have lying around. And now we're back, and let's do some size comparisons. Before we actually do, let's go let's measure Nero right here. And most of the time, most Figmas, at least when it comes to like the females, usually they're ranged around like between 5 to 5.5 inches, which Nero is like around there, which is not bad. Usually, it's mostly the male characters that usually like around 6-inch marks, kind of like with the most of the Dragon Ball figures, or at least the Dragon Stars or SH figure arts. Now let's compare Nero with the other Neros. Here's Racer Nero from, I forget what collaboration they did with that one. That's actually one. And then we have Nero Bride as well. I think Nero Bride might be slightly taller, only for the fact that Nero Bride technically has like a little bit much more bigger heels, I think. And also because tallness, which is kind of funny that regular Nero, technically speaking, they're all the same. They're just different routes when it comes to like Nero. Trying to make sure Bride doesn't fall off. Oh shit. Like Bride really, really wants to fall. There we go. So, like I said before, even between Neros, what's called regular Nero is actually technically short, with Bride barely above the 6.5, just because of bridal stuff. And Racer Nero, actually technically speaking, the same size. The only difference that would give her being slightly taller than regular main Nero is that her bow tie is spiking up like a little bit, kind of like ears. And then Bride just being technically slightly taller just because heels, I think. That is the fact that she's a little bit more straightened out. Now going towards the Neros. We have my very first Figma figure, which we'll do a review of her as well. Mordred. My very first Figma, and you can probably already see why Mordred was my first one. This is also before I actually was starting to get into Fate. This is actually when I was like just barely getting into it. Like I just finished, I think, doing Fate Extella, and I was barely getting into FGO back then, years ago. And if Mordred can just not fall over, that would be great. I'm just gonna have to hold Mordred like this. Mordred has been just a little more spiky. I kind of do love the design of Mordred. It's actually one of the reasons I bought her in the first place. I saw her on the show, was like, man, that's pretty awesome. And also being now starting into Fate, I knew a little bit of Mordred. I did watch Fate Apocrypha, so that's also another reason why I also bought Mordred too. So that actually really did help, and I really did like it. And it was Mordred herself that got me into starting to buy all the Figmas. which I'm still going to need to buy a whole lot more. Going for Mordred herself. Actually, let's actually bring in Medusa again, since what's called we did technically show her. This actually technically is the 2.0 Medusa. Like right here, she's actually slightly taller. She's actually at the 6-inch mark. She's actually has her gaze eyes technically on right now. I do have the old... Now, technically speaking, I do have the old 1.0 version of Medusa as well. Like, the only difference between the 1.0 and the 2.0 version of Medusa, I think, is not size, because I think they're both tall. It's just the legs. Right now, just not fully up as I want to. It's just that the hairs are a little bit much more strand, the skin tone, and actually, no, I think 2.0 is actually slightly taller. And also the ab joints. Like, original 1.0 Medusa doesn't have the ab joints, 2.0 does. And they're still taller than regular Nero. Then we have Nero's rival and my other favorite, who's also technically also about to hit 101, is Tamamo. With Tamamo technically being slightly taller, we'll do a review of Tamamo as well. Man, a lot of these, there's a reason why, technically speaking, the stands, I will say, I do apologize for me having to hold their feet, but because technically speaking, they don't want to stand right. You should really just using the stands for this, but I'm not doing it. What's it called? Tamamo slightly taller than Nero, just only by the ears. Yeah, Tamamo, no. We'll be doing the review for Tamamo eventually one of these days. And then going with her rival, well, depending if you watch Fake Grand Carnival, Artoria Pendragon. This is right here still the 1.0 Artoria. I still haven't gotten around to buying the 2.0 version of it. The difference between the 1.0 and 2.0 is basically the hand joints are just the only difference. With the hand joints being, instead of being bowl joints, the hand joints are just basically pegs. I'll show you right now what Artoria's if she ever lets go of her hand. Pun intended. X right here. See right there what I'm talking about? Basically just peg joint. This is how the Figmas used to be. Just peg joints on the hand instead of the other way around. Which is not bad. But swapping out to the new way is kind of a little bit much more better. But this is the 1.0 Artoria. They're basically, I think Nero's a little bit taller than Artoria. And that's actually Artoria being just slightly taller. So let's see right here. Artoria being 1/3, where Nero's like 5 and 5.5. Going from one Artoria to technically my other bigger Lartoria. Actually, with we have Lartoria, both King and Emperor. Right here, which I will do also the review for my Lartoria one day. I'll do the reviews for a lot of these Figmas eventually one day. What's called, I actually got Lartoria at the anime shop that I usually go to. I haven't gone in a while. What's it called? I actually do like the whole cloak thing too, because it's actually really nice soft fabric for a cloak, which is the other thing too. They kind of did the modifications. Was the skirt, which I was talking about, which making it much more open, much more movable, which I kind of do like. Unlike with Nero's, which is like a fully enclosed, which I kind of wish they kind of did a little bit much more better. Then we have one of the bigger characters too, especially when now we're talking with the male characters. We have Emiya right here, and this is also where I was talking about, where most of the male characters being always basically taller than the female ones, as most of the male characters are either around 6 or 6.5 inches, with Emiya being 6 and maybe 1 or 2 inch millimeter, depending on how you calculate that. Then we have the Masters. Sadly, I don't have Hakuno or Hakunan. I actually don't even know if they have Figmas for those two Masters for Fate Extella. I just kind of want to go and see if they do. I know they have regular statue figures, but they do. I don't know. But we have both Goto and Gudo, Fujimaru's Gato and Gudo right here. Both Masters of Nero and FGO. Pretty nice. They're just basically starter outfits. I do not have their alternate ones yet at the moment. I will need to buy those eventually one day. And then last but not least, well, I am trying to find note to self, I also need to get myself Summer Nero because I kind of want to do the whole I don't know if anybody played the second what's called FGO event, the summer event with Death Race. Because Solter and Nero technically have like a uncommon, not rivalry, but alliance. which was hilarious during that event, and I did chose Nero for that one with Salter in there. Because I think Nero was one of my first 5-star summer servants that I actually did have. And here's still Salter here eating a burger like she always does. And then last but not least, Gunpla, if I can ever find one. Actually, we're going to end this with the final Gunpla, and also the mascot of the channel, my Gundam Extella, who is still shorter than Nero. At least Nero can be proud. She's at least taller than my Gunpla. But now with that out of the way, folks, let's dive right in with the final thoughts for the figure. And with that, folks, that is it for the review for my Max Factory figure, Figma Nero Claudius from Fate Extella. Overall, pretty nice Figma right here. Articulation is still pretty nice. All color accuracy to the figure is pretty great. Accessory that it comes with is pretty good. You got the sword, multiple hands, the shield, the 2 different arms, the different face plates, a bunch of hands, the extra little peg joints for the arms, which is always pretty good and always nice to have. Overall, pretty great. She looks pretty nice, especially out of the box and all that, which is what I do love about Figma right here. Is basically one of the better figures out of figure lines out there. Granted, they're very pretty expensive. I forgot when I got mine. When I got my Nero, I'm pretty sure it wasn't too expensive back then. When I bought Nero all the way back, I think it was like what, $56 when I got her. Now it's probably way more expensive now. Overall, articulation is not bad at all. The only thing I will give a downside when it comes to the articulation is the legs, because the whole skirt kind of blocks the whole legs and whatnot, like I was showing beforehand. So she's able to bend her legs under the skirt and whatnot, but to do any different poses like kicks and all that, it's not going to be possible. It's you're limited because of the whole skirt thing. Like with some of the other Figmas I've shown, where nowadays they kind of modify the skirt so they can actually be a little bit much more movable or much more bendable. Nero's is kind of a little more, much more harder plastic. Yes, it is kind of bendable, but not to the degree that you want it to. That's one of the only downside negativity I'll put when it comes to articulation. Her legs can bend and move around under the skirt, but trying to do any aerial kicks and whatnot I kind of want to do, can't really do that. But besides that, she still does good, decent, and pretty great articulation on top. Her arm's still pretty movable, her head able to bend around, top sideways, able to bend up and down for the torso up, the upper torso joint, ab joints that we tend to do a lot of times. And overall, pretty great. Still one of my favorite Figmas of all time, because Nero is one of my favorites. But overall, yeah, that is it for the review for Max Factory's Figma's Nero Claudius from Fate Extella. Overall, pretty good figure. And if you do see it on the shelf, I do still recommend, especially if you're a Nero fan like I am. Always get for the Rose Emperor herself. And with that out of the way, folks, that is it for this review. And if you did enjoy the video, consider dropping a like, share, and subscribe. As always, do appreciate it, folks. And as always, as I, Pardon, signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.